Only Iran's unconditional surrender can end war, Trump says. U.S. approves possible emergency arms sale to Israel. Israel intensifies strikes on Lebanon with major raids on east. Iran says it struck U.S.-owned tanker near Kuwait. U.S. President Donald Trump says the escalating Middle East war will only end with Iran's unconditional surrender. In a social media post, Trump rejected the possibility of renewed negotiations with Tehran, saying there would be no deal unless Iran surrenders completely. The conflict has rapidly expanded across the region, with Israel intensifying airstrikes in Lebanon and announcing broader attacks on Tehran. According to the U.S. Central Command, more than 3,000 Iranian targets have been struck during the first week of the U.S.-Israeli campaign. The war has disrupted global energy and transport networks and raised fears of wider instability across the Gulf region. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called for urgent diplomatic negotiations, warning the crisis could spiral beyond control. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed support for an immediate ceasefire during a phone call with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. The conflict has also shaken global oil markets. Brent crude oil surged to over $92 per barrel, rising sharply amid concerns that the Strait of Hormuz shipping route could be disrupted. On the battlefield, the U.S. military says its campaign has targeted Iranian command centers, air defense systems, missile launch sites, and naval assets. At least 6 U.S. service members have been killed in the fighting. In Lebanon, Israeli strikes have intensified, particularly in the southern suburbs of Beirut, areas where the Iran-backed group Hezbollah holds strong influence. Lebanon's health ministry says 217 people have been killed, while humanitarian groups estimate that around 300,000 people have been displaced. Iran says U.S. and Israeli strikes have killed more than 900 people in the country, although the figures have not been independently verified. Iran has responded with missile and drone attacks targeting Israel and several Gulf countries, with explosions reported in Tel Aviv and air defense systems activated across the region. The growing conflict has raised fears of a broader regional war, with civilians increasingly caught in the violence. The United States has approved a possible $151.8 million sale of munitions and military support to Israel, according to the U.S. State Department. Secretary of State Marco Rubio authorized the deal, citing what he described as an emergency situation requiring the immediate transfer of weapons to Israel. Officials say the package includes BLU-110A/B general-purpose bombs, as well as logistics and support services. The State Department said the sale is intended to strengthen the security of a key regional partner and support U.S. foreign policy and national security interests in the Middle East. Israeli airstrikes have hit several areas across Lebanon, including the eastern Baalbek district, where at least 9 people were killed and 17 wounded, according to Lebanon's health ministry. State media reported at least a dozen Israeli raids in the area, including strikes on the town of Nabi Sheet, as rescue teams continue searching for people trapped under the rubble. The violence comes as the widening Middle East conflict draws Lebanon further into the fighting. Earlier this week, the Iran-backed group Hezbollah launched missiles toward Israel, saying the attack was in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Since then, Israel has expanded its military operations across Lebanon, including repeated strikes on the southern suburbs of Beirut, a densely populated area where Hezbollah holds strong influence. Lebanese authorities say the conflict has killed at least 217 people and wounded nearly 800, while more than 95,000 people have been displaced. Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam warned that the scale of displacement could create an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, 2 United Nations peacekeepers serving with the UN Interim Force in Lebanon were critically injured after missiles struck their base in southern Lebanon. Iran's armed forces say they have attacked a U.S.-owned oil tanker off the coast of Kuwait as the conflict with the United States and Israel continues to escalate. Iranian state media, citing the Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters, reported that the vessel was struck and caught fire after the attack. There has been no independent confirmation of the incident. The announcement came as Iran launched a new wave of retaliatory strikes across the region. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, said its new generation missiles targeted U.S. military bases in several Gulf countries, as well as Israeli sites including Ben Gurion Airport, the port city of Haifa, and Tel Aviv. Iranian officials say the attacks are part of their response to ongoing U.S. and Israeli military operations against the country. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said diplomatic efforts to end the conflict should focus on Washington and Tel Aviv, accusing them of triggering the escalation while reaffirming Iran's commitment to defending its sovereignty.